Everything that I've done today has been about the theme of peace. The videos, there was each video had something in there about peace. If you watch television shows or movies, programs, if you see cards, billboards, the word peace is there at Christmas. There's something about Christmas that demonstrates that we have a need for it in our lives. But it seems to be missing. All you have to do is look around the world today. Turn on the news. Tell me about Washington, D.C. right now. A lot of peace going on right now in Washington, D.C.? Not much. How about in other countries, the Middle East? Peace, a lot of peace there. How about stock market? Is that pretty peaceful right now? Anybody have anything in stock market? Maybe your retirement or whatever? There's no peace in any of these places. How about in just you? How about just you right now? Is there any peace? How about peace in your health? Is there peace in your health right now? Is your health great? There's no issues? How about in your financial situation? Are you able to pay all your bills? Everything's good with their peace there? How about it in your job? Is there peace in your job? Everybody gets along good? The forecast for your company is great? No problems there? How about in your family? Family, great? Never any conflict in your family? Everybody gets along? Everybody does what they're supposed to do? Anybody have any life like that at all? I'd love to talk to you because I don't know too many people that do. And then we get to Christmas. And everybody thinks, Christmas is, well, if you're at my house, Hallmark movies all day, all night. Right? It's because I turned them on, not her, really. I'm the Hallmark junkie, I admit it. But everything at Christmas, the movies, it's all about peace and love and warmth and, getting away from all the big cities and stress and going to the little towns with the little traditions and getting back to things and just those warm, fuzzy, peaceful feelings. For a lot of people, that's not the reality of Christmas at all. I think that's probably why they watch those movies, because they have nothing like that in their lives, and they're looking for that. For a lot of people, Christmas is stress. Christmas is, I've got to go here, and then I got to do this, and then I got to make that, and then I got to clean this, and then I got to make that, and then we got to get here, and then we got to buy this, and then we got to wrap this, and then we got that party and this place and all that stuff. And you're just frazzled. And then, there's the bill thing. I'm not talking about a guy named Bill. I'm talking about the thing that comes in your email or your mailbox or whatever it is that says, you owe this. And you're going, we have no idea how we're going to pay for that. And you call the company and say, when is actually the due date on this? Because I don't know, can we spread the payments out? And because we're under a lot of stress right now. And then, unlike the Hallmark movies where everybody in the family gets together and they enjoy each other and they love being together and they have a wonderful time, for a lot of people, families together at Christmas is disaster. It is nothing but, I don't know, can we invite him because he doesn't like her, and if, all that stuff. And then they get together and there's fighting and there's conflict and all the stuff from the past, and you haven't seen him for a year, and all of a sudden, bang, it's all together again. And you think that, it's all warm and great, but it's often not at all. And you don't look forward to that at all, and you can't wait till it's over so we don't have to see him again for another year. No, it's not always like that. But it is for a lot of people. There's anything but peace at Christmas. But you know what? I was starting to think about the Christmas story. The one in the Bible. Think about the story. Mary and Joseph, we're going to go out there tonight and we're going to have a wonderful time out there telling the story of Jesus and how he was born, and it's going to be warm and fuzzy and animals and, mangers and all that stuff. But, if you read through the story, there's anything but peace in this story. Suddenly we have to pay taxes because Caesar Augustus wants us to pay taxes. So where are we going to get the money for that? And, I found out that my wife-to-be, she's not my wife-to-be, we're engaged, she's pregnant. That is really bad because now the gossip is going to go like you cannot believe about my wife and about me. And what do I do with that? And then now we're supposed to go pay our taxes, and we have to go to this hometown thing. We can't just pay it here. There's no online. You have to go, and it's 70 miles away, and it takes a week to get there because we have to walk. Or if she rode on the donkey, we don't know. And what if she gives birth on the donkey or on the way there? And then we get to the place, my hometown, and we're looking for somewhere to stay because, really, we have a pregnant woman here. We need a place to stay. We can't sleep out on the streets, and you go from place to place, and there's nothing, and you can imagine the stress of that. There's no room in the inn. The story is just filled with anything but peace in it. So it's not unusual to not have peace at Christmas. So something is missing here in the story, in some of these characters, but I think more importantly, something is often missing in us at Christmas, and I think it's peace. I want to look at some people who missed having peace at Christmas today in the Christmas story. We're going to look at a couple different passages, and then I want to look at two people who found it to see what the difference is. And then we're going to ask and answer the question, where does real peace come from? Because peace is often not, when we get peace these days, we're often treating symptoms, not the root cause of where you get it. So I want to find out where the root is of actually getting peace in any situation. Where does that come from? And it comes from the story. So first of all, I want you to turn with me to Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2, verse 1. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to his own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. There's somebody here in this particular part of the story that missed peace at Christmas. When Joseph and Mary got to Bethlehem and they were going from place to place, trying to find somewhere to stay and perhaps even give birth to that baby, they came to an inn, and in that inn, there was no place. Now, if you have an inn, you have to have an innkeeper, and you have to have somebody to tell you that there's no room in the inn, so we're assuming there was an innkeeper. And in fact, in our story tonight, there is. So we're assuming there was somebody there who told them there's no place for you here. So I want to speculate that a person who missed peace at Christmas was in fact that innkeeper. Now, we don't know anything about this guy. We're assuming it was a guy. We don't know anything about him. But what we do know about him, if he was in fact truly a character in the story, is that he was probably extremely busy right now. Because of this census, everybody was changing places throughout the world. Everybody was coming back to where they were from. So all the people from the line of David were coming back to Bethlehem, which means they were full like you could not believe. So they were filled up. So I'm sure Joseph and Mary were not the only ones that went to that place and asked if you have somewhere to stay, and he said to them, no. Maybe they were the first, maybe they were the 20th. We don't know if he was happy to see them or if he was stressed to see them. No, I don't have any place for you to stay here. To him, they were just another couple. They were nobody special. They were just two people that needed a room, and he didn't have any place. But somehow, for some reason, it seems some compassion came over him for them. We don't know if he offered it to anybody else, but he offered it to them. He said, well, I don't have any place in my inn where I have rooms, but they're all full, but, you know, you really need some help here. You and your wife, she is going to give birth, and I don't feel like I can just kick you out, but I do have this place behind there. It's back behind. It's where the animals, the stable. You could stay there if you want. And they agreed. It wasn't that he was hostile towards them. He wasn't angry at them. He was just busy. His schedule was full. And so he missed peace at Christmas simply because of his busyness, the fullness of his schedule. There's another person who missed peace at Christmas as well, and the reason he did it was completely opposite from the innkeeper. I want you to turn with me to Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. We have in this particular passage a character by the name of Herod. Herod is anything but the innkeeper. He's completely the opposite. What do we know about Herod? Herod was the king of Judea. Was Herod a Jew? No, he was not. Herod was from Edom, E-D-O-M, which is on the other side of the Dead Sea. He was appointed by the Romans to be the king of Judea because they needed somebody to take over who wasn't a Jew who would watch the kingdom for them. So Herod was appointed by the Romans. He was not Jewish. And therefore, if he was appointed, he was afraid he could get unappointed. So he was threatened by anybody who might have designs on his throne. So now he hears about this new king of the Jews. He was the king of the Jews. Matthew 2, verse 1. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who's been born king of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. We're not talking about mildly disturbed. We're talking about horribly disturbed. Herod had a reputation. Because he was appointed to the throne and he was threatened by anyone who might have designs on it, he wasn't afraid to eliminate anybody who might be the threat, including his own family. Because of that paranoia that he had his brother-in-law killed, his wife killed, and his mother-in-law killed. Now, knowing then, because of his reputation, that nobody liked him, let alone loved him, he made a plan. He issued a decree that when he died, that the distinguished, loved citizens of Jerusalem, the most loved people, should be brought together, and when he died, they should be killed. That way, there would be mourning in Jerusalem when he died. Just give you a picture of what this guy's like. Nobody's going to cry for me, so I'll make sure there's crying when I die. Fortunately, that order was never carried out. But that's who we're dealing with. So you can imagine when this guy finds out there's a new king of the Jews, what his reaction might be. Verse 7. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. So when Herod finds out about this new king of the Jews from the Magi, he said, I want you to go and find him. And when you find him, I want you to come back so that I too may go to that place and worship him. But we know that that's not what he had in mind. He was going to do to that baby what he did to his brother-in-law and his wife and his mother-in-law. Fortunately, God intervened. God warned the Magi, don't go back there, and they didn't, and he didn't find out from them where he was. Herod missed peace at Christmas. Not because he was too busy, but because he was hostile to it. Hostility, anger. He was threatened by it. And he missed it. There's a third, I'm going to call them a group of characters in this story. People who missed peace at Christmas as well. If you remember, well, let's just look there. Matthew chapter 2, verse 4. When Herod had called together all the people's chief priests and the teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem in Judea, they replied, for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. So when the Magi come to Herod and say, we're coming here for the king of the Jews, where is he? And Herod goes, I don't know what you're talking about, but I do seem to remember, I know enough about the Jewish law, I know enough about Jewish history, that the Jews are looking for a Messiah. Now, where is it? Where's the prophecy that the Messiah is to be born? Because I know enough to know that that's the case. It's prophesied. So he gathers together his religious leaders, his teachers of the law, and he says, well, where is it that the Messiah is to be born? And they quoted the scripture. It says, in Bethlehem. So that's where Herod sent them. Now you would think that the religious leaders, if some group of wise men, magi, kingmakers, came from a far-off land looking for the new king of the Jews, looking for the Messiah, the Christ, and inquired about it, and Herod asked you about it, that you might be interested in finding out if, in fact, the Christ, the Messiah, has been born in Jerusalem, or in Bethlehem. Just out of curiosity, if nothing else. On the other hand, the Jews, remember the Jews up until this point have been looking for hundreds and hundreds of years for the Messiah to return. They're looking for the coming of the Christ. They've been waiting for it, and especially now because the Romans, the oppressors, are on top of them all the time, and they're looking for someone to come to throw off these oppressors, and they believe that when the Messiah comes, the Christ comes, he'll set up his kingdom and throw off these people, and they'll now reign on the earth forever with the Messiah when he's here. You would think that these guys might at least check this out to see if it was true. But they didn't. We have no account of any of these religious leaders going to Bethlehem to see if it's true or not. Why not? Maybe they just didn't care. Let's call it indifference. We don't need that. We've talked about the Messiah. We've looked to him, but we're really pretty good on our own, we really don't need him. We're doing okay by ourselves. And so they missed peace at Christmas. Hostility, busyness, indifference. Not unlike people today. But then you have the characters in the story that got it, that didn't miss peace at Christmas, but I believe actually received peace at Christmas. And you can imagine who they are. Matthew chapter 2, verse 9. After they had heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. When coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. And they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. Joseph and Mary got it. They didn't miss it. They received peace at Christmas. They understood what it is that God had promised. They understood who this child was. They didn't miss it. They got it. But where does peace come from? What's the source of real peace? I mean that inner peace that no matter what kind of circumstance you're going through, the peace is still there. Not this temporary happiness that lasts a little while and then is gone kind of peace. I mean the deep down inner peace that no matter what happens in my life, that I still have that peace, that it's always there, even in the stress and busyness and conflicts of life. Where does that come from? We're going to sing a song in a few minutes that you know called Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And what is one of the lyrics in the song? Okay, you're going, okay, hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King, peace on earth and mercy mild. How? God and sinners reconcile. That's it. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Since we have now been justified by his blood, how much more shall we be saved from God's wrath through him? For if while we were God's enemies, we were reconciled to him through the death of his Son, how much more, having been reconciled, shall we be saved through his life? Peace comes because of God and man reconciled. The baby isn't just a cute baby in a nice warm story on Christmas. The baby is God coming, beginning the process in humanity of becoming a man who would die on a cross so that our sins could be forgiven, so that we could be brought back to God, so that we could be justified, made just as if we'd ever sinned. Reconciliation. That's how peace comes. If you're looking for peace at Christmas, you're not going to find it, real peace, through warm and fuzzy Christmas stuff. It'll make you feel good for a while, but it'll be gone as soon as the stuff is done. Real peace, lasting peace, comes through understanding who Jesus is, why he came, and what he was to accomplish. And Joseph and Mary got that, and they had peace in their lives, and we can have it too. I'm just telling you this morning because, you know, I realize we've probably been through most of the busyness by now, but you still got those times together of family when conflict can come, and you still got to pay those bills, and all that stuff is coming. The peace still can elude you at Christmas. So go back just in the next few days and go back to the story. Understand what it is that you have. Understand what it is that God has done for you in Jesus. And when you do that, the peace will come and you won't miss it. You can have it no matter what your life is like during this Christmas season. God and sinners reconciled. We can have peace because of Jesus. I want to take a moment, and in a moment we're going to sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing. But before we do that, I want you to take some time to have just a few moments of quiet. This may be the only quiet you get for the next few days. So I want you to enjoy it. But I want you to appreciate it too. And I want you to think of the things that are going on in your life that are taking away your peace. And I want you to think of the things that might take away your peace in the next few days. And I want you to go back to the source of where real peace comes from. And I want you to recognize that, and I want you to talk to God about it. And thank Him for it. Understand it, recognize it, appreciate it, celebrate it. And thank Him that no matter what's going on in your life in the next few days, that peace will still be there because of God and sinners reconciled. Take a few moments to do that, and then I'll close us in prayer. Talk to Him.